Welcome to Trainworld. This is a first look into the game to see if this is the game for you. Thank you very much to the devs for giving me a review copy for me to take a look. So what is Trainworld? Well, it's a strategy simulation railway game where you get to basically create your own infrastructure. Think a little bit like Transport Fever 2. It's the closest game I can think of that is basically very, very similar to this one. So I'm going to show you a bit of gameplay. I'm going to get our first line set up, all that sort of process, and explain all the different systems and mechanics. I'm also going to show you settings, like as of right now. For those people that are interested for the game settings, what you can change, all the controls. The graphic settings I've disabled, the music, audio, but everything else is as default. So one of the selling points, the big selling point for this game, was the map size. So you've got sort of standard map sizes that you expect with this sort of genre of game. So the 33 by 33 kilometers, but then you've got this one up here, which is 197 kilometers, which is a big map, and it fills your entire screen. And there are two modes. There's basic, which is your standard, just progress with money. And then you've got sandbox, where you can select if you want things unlocked, regions, and infinite money. And also there's a difficulty. For the purpose of this first look video, I am actually going to turn on infinite money, just so I don't have to worry about that, but everything else is how I would normally sort of set up a game. Now that I've gone through Loading Simulator, but you haven't because of the magic of editing, this is what you get. We are currently in Lexington as the main city in this region, and this is as far as you can zoom out. You've got a mini map which we can zoom in like this, and if I select anywhere on the map, it teleports me there, just like that. And the right way up to tell, your little icon here is a little V shape. And it's not the point, that's not where you're actually pointed. If I turn like that, it's actually the open-ended bit of that V. You've got all your sort of different tools up here for your rails and your trains and stuff like that. I'll get all into those as we make our first line. You've got our money up here. Obviously this isn't going to change because of infinite money, but this will tell you everything. You've got loans and everything like this. You've got your research, so this research and reputation kind of go hand in hand. You'll get reputation based on lines that are here, and the more efficient, the more reputation you'll get, which will determine how many points per minute you'll get, and that will determine how you'll get research points, and then you'll research stuff. So this has 3 eras. Era number 1 is Steam. And that all costs sort of 100. You've got things like opening up regions for free because you can unlock them for money. There's locomotives. There's earning more pay for transportation, or there's reduced costs of construction. And then you've got Era 2, which is more of your diesel locomotives. And then you've got your Era 3, which is your electric, really fast trains. And as you can see, the progress of research points goes up. So it goes from 100 to 300 to 500. So those two kind of go hand in hand, and you've got a nice indicator how many points you have, how many reputation points you have, and they can go negative, which will affect this. So this will go up and down. At the moment we've got 0.1 and we've got no lines connected at all. So we've got 0.1 per minute. The first sort of criticism I have with this game is it doesn't show you what year you're in, and this doesn't really tell you too much. I think there's 4 quarters per year, and that takes 20 minutes of game time in real life. I believe that's correct. Anyway, if we press M, we get the entire map. Look at that. And this is our one region. You can unlock numerous regions with this. And we can select this and all this kind of stuff. So you've got all the different regions, and this will tell you exactly what each region has, or this is within this region. These are all the different areas, because we've got the main city, which will produce whatever we're producing, and then we've got the towns, and then we've got little sort of production industry sort of villages, if you will. And you can unlock regions. Obviously they need to be neighboring, but words, we've got too low reputation to unlock at this moment of time because we've just started the game. We have Santa Ana and Orlando. And Orlando has coal. And Santa Ana has iron ore. And that's what they produce. So, because they produce a freight, you won't actually be able to have a connection between passages. As you will be able to see, you can connect all of these towns with the main city, but you can't connect these for passenger links. But passengers are very expensive early game, so you tend to do freight first, and that's what I'm going to show you. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go into industry, and it's saying Lexington, there's a new production, and it's going to produce sheet steel. And sheet steel need both of these, hence why these two are present. So I'm going to select Lexington and go select, and that has now been assigned that production. The first thing I'm going to show you is the guides, which are really helpful for creating your lines. So we want to produce a line from Santa Ana to Lexington and Orlando to Lexington. For this video, I'm only going to be creating one of these lines. So we're going to produce the one between Santa Ana and Lexington. So I think we're going to potentially start out of here and go out of here. And I'm going for the path of least resistance. That means it's really hilly. So I'm going to try and avoid those areas if I possibly can. And particularly when we're starting in the Steam era, which you will do if you choose the basic game mode anyway, they don't like going up hills, or if you are, gradually put them up a hill. So what we first want to do is we actually want to produce a station. And there's a freight station that does everything. It's a little bit more expensive, or there's specifics like a box car or a bulk cargo. I think this will be under bulk cargo. Yes, it will be. So we want one of these. Now, this main freight one has terminals, so if I selected that down there, I could add terminals. However, I'm going to go with a bulk one, because that's what we need for this one. It's going to be a bit cheaper. I'm going to hold control, and I'm going to rotate with my mouse wheel. And we're going to plop this, probably want it maybe there. Not where I've put the guard. I kind of want it a little bit away from the town, so it will be there. And what I like doing with the direction is I can select this and it will switch, and I want it to go in, always in, and I'll tell you why. It's the way I do my sort of yards. And we can tick that, and that's now been confirmed. We click the rails. We've got double rails if you want to. We're going to start with a single rail, and we're going to make it go out here to our little guide here, just like that. And this is a drag and hold. But now I've sort of clicked it, I can now press, I can either press the tick, or if I press spacebar, I'm now not holding and clicking. This is now just my mouse without clicking, which makes it a little bit easier. And I'll just press C there just to cancel that. I'm also going to produce this. Now, some of you may want to do a loop. So it will go around like this, and it will interconnect back. You wouldn't connect there because that's a one-way. And to remove it, just select this section of track like this. I'm going to put that back like so. I'm essentially going to get them to do a 180 and then go back. That's the way that I do my yards. And when I'm placing down tracks, so I'm probably going to put it out this way. So I'm going to start it here. It's going to curve around like that. You may notice there's a little A here. We select that, that goes onto an S, so we can select if we want to do a bit of a terrain, which will eventually go onto a bridge, or we can tunnel if we want to. But doing that makes it a bit more expensive, as you'll be able to see here. I want it on auto, which kind of does it to the current terrain. It's on a 0.6 inclination, that's okay, I'm happy with that. And I'm going to, if we try and connect this here, it will try and adjust that accordingly. I'm happy with that. Inclination hasn't changed, so I'm just going to press space like that. And signals can be used as waypoints. which is really useful to know. And now we're going to put a signal down here. And this is only going to be one way. And we're going to put a signal down here. And that's also going to be one. So if I press the construction thing here, we get to see everything I've done. The green lines basically say, okay, this bit's a double, so it will go, this is a two-way, and this is a one-way going this way, this is a one-way going that way. And that's the way I do it, because when they get to a waypoint, what they'll do is they'll do a teleportation 180, a bit like in Transport Fever 2. Passenger line stations, by the way, are a two-way. They're not a one-way like this. It's just the freight that are always a one-way. It always has to go in one way. If you had the main freight terminal, you could probably add another terminal and flip it round and do it that way if you wanted to. But this is the way I do a yard. I think it's more effective than doing a huge loop for it to go, for the train to basically turn around. I like doing it this way, but you can do it the way that you want to. So I'm now going to create the line for the rest of the way. And I'm looking to make sure it's as flat as possible. And if I am going to put it up a hill, it's going to be at a 1% maximum inclination at a time. There is a limit to where this goes actually, like that. Particularly when turning, I just want to make sure this is a small one like this. And then we can go straight and continue and finish the line up to where we are going. Okay, so we've reached the little town that we're supposed to be transporting between, and it's been relatively flat actually. There's been I think a 0.3 inclination at some places, but now we've done that guide, we can delete that guide just like that. Now if we go into M, we zoom in, we can see that line like that. It's relatively straight as well, which means we're going to have maximum efficiency when it comes to its speed. Now, the reason for the sort of very much paying attention to inclination is you want as many train wagons on the back as possible, and if the weight's too much, the train will literally go to a standstill and chug along relatively slowly or completely stop. So I'm just going to repeat what I did here for the yard for in here. Okay, that's now been created. This sort of almost makes a bit of a shortcut now, really. And obviously there's a signal here, just in case there's a train down here that's going down there and flipping around. And there's another train coming in, so that can then stop there. And the same when, because this is a two-way, for this to stop here, for that to go along there. If I had numerous trains on this, I would either have passing places or I would do a complete double track. Now, because I've got infinite money on, it doesn't really matter. I would probably go for a double track, but just bear that in mind when you're making yours. And that's sort of kind of how you'd work for money efficiency. What we now need to do is we've set up our signals. I don't know if I mentioned before. You might have seen me, but I don't think I explained it. To edit these, you go into signals and you just select them, and you can flip them like this, and you can actually do repeater ones, and you can adjust where they are if you want to, and it will show how many there are. I'll do an example. If I do another signal here, it should be able to, there you go. So every kilometer there will be 3 new signals if you want to do that. You don't have to if you don't want to, but that is an option for signaling. And there was a no stop signaling thing, which is similar to Factorio's chain signaling. If you want to enable those, which is those there, the no stop. Now we need depots. So we're going to, these don't have to be placed in anywhere. The stations need to be in the catchment area of the town or the city, but these can be placed anywhere. There's a garage one, which is just a one-way one, which we're going to use probably here. Let's put it over here. And there's also a tunnel one, which will look a bit different as well. So I'm going to place this one here, and I'm going to accept that, and we're going to do a two-way just in case we wants to go one way or the other. Like, ooh, that doesn't like that. Like that. And let me just put in these signals in case. These are all going to be two ways, unless I do a double track, a two-way track. At the moment, that will do. Let's put that one there. Although, you could argue you don't need them over there or there. You just need signals there for them to stop, just in case a train's coming on this segment of track. So let's do that. And now we've got a depot, we can actually get our first train up and running. So we're going to go into trains, we're going to have a new freight train. One of the things I don't like about this system is every single time you create a train, you have to redo the route. You can clone them, which will clone the route with it. But I want to be able to create routes separately. So we're going to create, this is the only one we have. We're going to hit the add button. And now we can, the easiest way to see which one it is just selecting and then selecting this. I know it's going to be this one. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, it's going to be this one. Okay, it's this one. I was wrong. And we want to go onto the edge of satisfactory performance, as you might be able to see by that info down there. Like that. It's going to cost us a little bit, but that's fine. We're going to pay for that. These do have a lifespan, so we will have to replace the locomotive. The wagons at this moment of time don't have an expiry or a lifespan. So now we're going to create a route. I prefer doing this if I press M. It's a little bit easier. So if I've done this correctly, it's going to go to Santa Ana first. It's going to go into that. It's then going to use the signal as a turnaround point. And then we're going to repeat this over here. So we select Lexington and then the signal. And then that is a green, which means it likes that route. It accepts it. If it was red, it would say, yeah, there's a problem. And there are sort of settings in here. So you can say unload and don't unload. How full do you want it? Do you want it to wait? All that kind of stuff if you want to as well. We're going to go tick. And we're going to double click here. Oh, let's close that and double click, which will bring us into here. Go to select train 1, and then we're going to go on route. And we're going to put it on to ×4 up here. Red means this track's occupied, by the way. That segment of track is occupied, and green means it is free. So now I'm going to whack this up to ×16 because it's going to go on its way now. And it's going to go all the way into here. Pick everything up. Now this is also to do with demand. So this will have a limit the first time you do it. But as soon as you do it for the first time, it will get to 200. There you go. It's now switched to 740, which means these wagons are going to be half full. So it's going to, there's the 180, and then it's going to go all the way around, and that's how those yards work. The one thing that I like doing is going into this view, right-clicking the train. Oh, that's not the train. That's the train. If you have done some hilly areas, this is the great test. Once it's full, this is now full, which means it's going to be heavy. This is at its heaviest. Now, I've said this is basically flat, so we shouldn't have any issues. But we can kind of see, okay, it's going 48 kilometers per hour. We're not having any issues. It might slow down in some of the the more hilly areas if you do have a more of a hill area. But also bear in mind that the cars, like the gondola, does have a sort of speed limit, which means you're going to be sort of determining which locomotive is suitable for you, and there it goes and offloads that. Now if we're going into here for the loans, it's just gained us 9.1 thousand profit. This is where we basically bought everything and got everything set up, and this is our sort of first big profit. We got a little bit of profit here, but this is our big profit here. 105,000 in that income. Every time it stops at a station also, it has maintenance, so it has some maintenance fees, so you'll notice it go down and then it will deliver everything, so it will go up again. And we've accumulated 8 points. We're doing 0.2 points per minute, and that's our reputation. We still need our other line to be connected. But that's the gameplay loop, really, and you'll have other productions come available. Sometimes there'll be a secondary production, so Lexington might say, okay, I want to produce steel sheets and something else, or some other place will need the steel sheets, so once you produce that, you'll need to transport the steel sheets to somewhere else. So one of these places might say, we want the steel sheets, so the steel sheets would then be transported to one of these areas. Achievements are sort of locked because we're in sandbox mode, but this is basically per save. So every time you press new game, you'll get, these aren't sort of like Steam achievements, they're just achievements that you get money for. So they're sort of actually milestones, I would rename them to personally, but that's sort of how they are. And you've got these contracts once you open up regions as well, and that is showing overall what's happening on your map as an entirety, as a sort of overview. The one thing that I don't really like is when you're actually building these lines, it pauses the game. And that's the same with if you go into rails, it pauses. Stations, depots, signals, and removing or deleting segments. And I get why this has been done, because if you're deleting a piece of the track that it needs to go on, it's going to cause issues. But let's say I've done this line, but I want to do a line between these two or something that's not relation to this. I'm not going to get money income, which to me is a little bit inefficient for producing things. I'd like it to always tick unless I override it and say, actually, I want to pause it. And that is Train World. This game has a lot of layers, a lot of mechanics, and a lot to sort of explain. So hopefully I've explained majority of the sort of gameplay loop just to get you sort of started and potentially interested in the game, whether this has decided whether you want to go for this game or the game's maybe not for you. That is completely up to you, but hopefully I have answered that sort of query or question about this game. If you have found it helpful and enjoyed this first look for Train World, and like to see more content like this one, make sure you are subscribed. I make racing and simulation content based on the latest updates or games, or even new games like this one with a first look. And if that interests you, you can stick around, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.